3 weeks before I showed up at Brookline Elementary, Candace knelt in front of my grandchildren. Tyler was 8 years old. Chloe was 6. They sat on the living room carpet in their Brookline house, the house my husband Floyd and I had helped them buy. Candace's voice was sugar sweet, practiced. "If that old woman shows up at school, you don't know her." Tyler's small hand squeezed Chloe's. His voice came out quiet. "But that's Grandma Vi." "No," Candace smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Grandmas don't exist in strong Brennan families. Remember that. Strong Brennans." Tyler nodded, confused but obedient. Chloe's fingers gripped his sleeve tighter. I didn't know she'd said those words. Not yet. Now I stood in the second grade hallway of Brookline Elementary, October 2024. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The blue baby blanket felt heavier than it should, soft cotton yarn. I'd knitted it 8 years ago, back when Tyler was born, back when Candace smiled at me and called me Mom. Tyler was taller now, wearing a navy polo I'd never seen. 8 months. That's how long it had been since I'd touched his face, since I'd braided Chloe's hair on a Sunday morning, since I'd made them pancakes in my kitchen. I knelt down. My knees cracked against the linoleum. The sound echoed in the empty hallway. "Tyler, baby. It's Grandma Vi." His small face tilted up. Those brown eyes, Jamal's eyes, Floyd's eyes. They blinked at me like I was a stranger. Then, achingly polite, I'm sorry, I don't have a grandma." The words hit like a punch. My breath caught somewhere between my lungs and my throat. I held out the blanket. Navy blue letters stitched across the bottom, the name I'd sewn with careful, loving precision. Tyler James Ashford. Tyler's eyes dropped to the blanket. His small hand reached out. Fingers traced the letters. "That says Ashford," he whispered. "That's my old name, from before Mommy changed it." "Changed it?" My voice came out strangled, barely recognizable. "What do you mean, baby? She said we're Brennans now." His voice dropped even lower, like he was sharing a secret, a dangerous one. "Strong Brennans. We don't need old names." Old names. He meant Ashford, my husband's name, my name, his father's name, the name Floyd had carried for 69 years before his heart gave out. Have you ever been erased from someone's life while you're still breathing? Tell me in the comments. That's what this felt like. Standing in a school hallway, holding a baby blanket, watching my grandson deny me because someone taught him to. Behind Tyler, a door opened. Mrs. Morrison, Chloe's kindergarten teacher from last year. She'd invited me to the end-of-year party. At least, she was supposed to. Her voice was cautious now, careful. "Mrs. Ashford, you shouldn't be here. Your name isn't on the approved visitor list." "Approved list?" The words came out sharp, harder than I meant. "I'm their grandmother." "I know." She stepped closer. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "But we received instructions from Mrs. Brennan in July. She said you were no longer part of the children's lives, no longer part of their lives, like I died, like Floyd." The school secretary appeared, Mrs. Patterson, thin-lipped, clipboard clutched in both hands like a shield. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The children's mother has been very clear about this." The children's mother. I repeated the words slowly, tasting each one. "Where's my son? Where's Jamal?" "Mr. Ashford signed the paperwork as well." Mrs. Patterson's voice was flat, professional, cold. "Both parents requested your removal from all school contact lists." Jamal signed paperwork. My son? My Jamal. The boy I'd raised alone after his father walked out. The boy I'd put through college, who'd held my hand at Floyd's funeral and whispered, "I don't know what I'd do without you, Ma." That Jamal had signed papers to erase me. Have you ever trusted someone completely only to discover they were building walls while you slept? I stood up. The blanket hung from my hands. Tyler backed away. 2 steps, then 3. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I don't want to get in trouble." "You're not in trouble, baby." My voice cracked, split right down the middle. "You didn't do anything wrong." But he was already walking away, back to his classroom. The door closed. I stood alone in the hallway, fluorescent lights humming above me. The blanket felt like evidence now, proof of something that used to exist. If you've ever felt invisible to people who once loved you, subscribe. You need to hear what happened next. I didn't cry, not then. I walked out of Brookline Elementary, got in my car, a 10-year-old Honda Civic, drove home to Newton, 32 minutes through Boston traffic, and the entire time, one question hammered through my head. Why? Why would Candace do this? Why would Jamal let her? My name is Viola Ashford. I'm 67 years old, a retired speech pathologist. I worked for Boston Public Schools for 32 years. I taught children how to form words, how to make sounds into meaning, how to be heard. Now my own grandchildren couldn't hear me. For 8 years, I was the grandmother who showed up. First day of kindergarten, first soccer game, scraped knees that needed Band-Aids, bedtime stories about dragons and princesses, Sunday morning pancakes with chocolate chips. Chloe liked hers in the shape of hearts. Tyler wanted dinosaurs. I knew these things, small things, the things that make up a life. Floyd died 18 months ago, March 2023. Heart attack at 69, right there in our kitchen. One moment he was reading the Globe, sports section, Red Sox spring training predictions. The next moment he was gone. I need you to understand something. This wasn't about me being a difficult mother-in-law. I'd been there for every birthday, every scraped knee, every bedtime story. I showed up. That's what grandmothers do. 3 weeks ago, a legal notice arrived. September 2024. Official-looking envelope. Suffolk County Family Court Return Address. I'd opened it standing at my kitchen table. The same table where Floyd had died, the same table where I'd taught Tyler to count to 10 using M&Ms. The words blurred together at first, legal language, dense paragraphs, but 2 lines stood out, clear as glass, sharp as knives. Tyler James Ashford, name changed to Tyler Brennan. Chloe Marie Ashford, name changed to Chloe Brennan. My daughter-in-law's maiden name, Candace Brennan. She'd erased my family, legally, while I sat in my house in Newton wondering why nobody returned my calls. The baby blanket sat on my passenger seat now. Soft cotton yarn, navy blue letters. Tyler James Ashford, the name that used to matter. I pulled into my driveway, sat in the car, stared at my empty house. Floyd's reading glasses were still on the side table. 18 months later, I couldn't bring myself to move them. Inside, I pulled out my phone, scrolled through texts from Jamal. The last one was from mid-August 2024, 6 weeks ago. Me. Tried calling. Want to bring the kids to the aquarium Saturday? Jamal. Can't this weekend. Busy. Me. Next weekend? No response. I'd sent 3 more texts after that, all unanswered. Before that, sporadic responses. Sorry, Candace has the kids busy. Maybe next month. Things are complicated right now. I thought he was stressed. Work deadlines, marriage stuff, normal life chaos. The kind of busy that happens when you're raising 2 kids and working 50-hour weeks. I didn't know he was cutting me out. What happens when the people you trust most become strangers? When did busy stop meaning busy and start meaning goodbye? 2 weeks ago, I'd run into Felipe at the grocery store. Felipe Reyes, Jamal's co-worker, civil engineer at the same firm. They'd worked together for 7 years. Felipe's voice had been careful, like he was choosing each word deliberately. "Mrs. Ashford," he'd said, "I don't know if I should say this, but Jamal, he's not himself lately. He's hollow, like someone scooped out his insides and left only the shell." I'd thanked him, bought my groceries, driven home, but the words stayed with me. Hollow. That's exactly how Jamal had sounded in his last text. Not angry, not defensive, just empty. I didn't know then that Jamal wasn't ignoring me by choice, but I'd find that out soon enough. The doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. Mrs. Chen, my neighbor, 72 years old, lives next door with her daughter's family. She's lived there for 30 years, longer than I have. I opened the door. Mrs. Chen, hi. Her hands twisted together, nervous. Viola, I need to tell you something. I saw Candace last week. We sat in my living room. Floyd's chair sat empty, his reading glasses catching the afternoon light. Mrs. Chen's voice was soft, apologetic. She was in your son's driveway. Tyler and Chloe were getting out of her car. After school, I think. Okay. I waited, sensing there was more. She was talking to them. Mrs. Chen's voice dropped. I heard her say, if anyone asks about Grandma Vi, you say you don't remember her very well. Old people forget things. Sometimes they don't remember us either. The words landed like stones, heavy, cold. Old people forget things. Candace was teaching my grandchildren that I'd forgotten them, that I was senile, unreliable, gone. Why didn't you tell me? My voice came out harsher than I meant. I didn't know if I should interfere. Mrs. Chen's eyes were wet. But after I saw you leave this morning with that blanket, I thought you should know. After she left, I sat alone. The house was too quiet. It had been too quiet for 18 months since Floyd died, but I'd had Tyler and Chloe. Birthday parties, Christmas mornings, Easter egg hunts in my backyard. They'd kept me tethered to something bigger than grief. Now even that was gone. I thought about Chloe's rainbow drawings. That's what Floyd used to call her, Little Rainbow, because she wore mismatched colors to preschool, pink shirt, orange shorts, purple socks. Candace hated it, said it looked sloppy, but Floyd and I encouraged it. Let her be who she is, he'd say. 63 drawings. I'd counted them, still on my refrigerator. Purple suns, green skies, people with 5 arms. This is you, Grandma Vi, she'd say, pointing to a stick figure with a giant smile. You're always happy. Old people forget things. Candace was teaching my grandchildren that I'd forgotten them, that I was senile, unreliable, gone. I called Jamal, straight to voicemail. You've reached Jamal Ashford. Leave a message. I didn't leave one. I tried Candace's number. It rang once. Then, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. She'd changed her number, or blocked me. Either way, I was locked out. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Floyd died, where I'd received the legal notice, where I'd taught Tyler to count. The house felt too big, too empty, too quiet. I pulled out Floyd's papers, the documents he'd left in the filing cabinet, life insurance, pension information, bank statements, and underneath everything else, trust fund documents, educational trust for Tyler James Ashford and Chloe Marie Ashford, established June 2022, 9 months before Floyd died. One line stood out, clear, precise. Viola Ashford named sole trustee. Disbursement requires her signature and identity verification. I read it again. Sole trustee. My signature. My identity verification. Floyd had set this up. Protection for the grandchildren, he'd called it. I'd asked him why so suddenly. Just a precaution, he'd said. I'm 68. Anything could happen. But there was something else. Something in his voice. 3 months later, he'd told me, Vi, if anything happens to me, don't let anyone touch that trust. Not until the kids are 18. Promise me. I'd promised. I didn't understand it then, but that one line, requires her signature, was about to explain everything Candace had done. What would you fight for? Your name? Your history? Or would you let someone erase you without a sound? I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about that line. Requires her signature. But before I understood what it meant, I had to go back to when things first started falling apart. Back to June 2024, Tyler's 8th birthday, late June, hot summer. I'd bought him a Lego architecture set, the Sydney Opera House, 274 pieces. He'd been begging for it for months. I'd wrapped it myself, blue paper with white stars, Tyler's favorite combination since he was 4 years old. I'd mailed it 2 weeks early, priority shipping. Tracking confirmed delivery 3 days before his birthday. 3 days after his birthday, it arrived back at my door, red stamp across the front. Return to sender, wrong address. The address was correct. I'd written it myself. The same address I'd been sending cards and gifts to for 8 years, the same house Floyd and I had helped them buy. I called Jamal, straight to voicemail. The gift came back. Is everything okay? Call me. He didn't call back. I told myself it was a postal error. Some new carrier who didn't know the route. Maybe the package got damaged and the address smudged. I didn't want to believe what it actually meant. That someone had refused delivery, deliberately. That someone had sent my grandson's birthday present back to me like unwanted mail. When did you realize someone you loved was pushing you away? Was it sudden, or did it happen so slowly you didn't notice until it was too late? For me, it was gradual, like watching ice form on a pond. One day it's water, the next you can walk on it. But you never see the exact moment it changes. Floyd had taught Tyler card tricks when he turned 6. Sleight of hand, the disappearing coin trick. Tyler practiced for hours at our kitchen table until he could fool me every time. On his 7th birthday, he performed for the whole family. Candace filmed it on her phone. She smiled. She hugged Floyd. I remember thinking everything was perfect. That was a year before Floyd died. 2 years before Candace would try to erase us. The next incident came in July. Chloe's kindergarten graduation, July 2024. Hot afternoon. Brookline Elementary School. I'd been to every school event since Chloe started preschool. First day of pre-K. Halloween parade. Winter concert. Spring play. Every single one. I walked into the building, down the hallway toward Mrs. Morrison's classroom. The same classroom where Chloe had clung to my hand on her first day, where I'd braided her hair when she was too nervous to let go. Mrs. Morrison stopped me at the door. Her voice was apologetic, uncomfortable. Mrs. Ashford, your name's not on the approved guest list. There must be a mistake. I kept my voice calm, professional. I'm her grandmother. I've been to every school event since she started preschool. I know, Mrs. Morrison's voice dropped. The list came from Mrs. Brennan herself. I'm sorry. Through the doorway, I could see inside. Rows of small chairs, parents with cameras, and Chloe, my Chloe, in a white dress with yellow flowers, scanning the crowd. She was looking for me. I could see it in the way her eyes moved, searching. Her small hand gripped the edge of her chair. Then Candace's voice cut through the room. Sharp. Chloe, sit still. I heard Chloe's small voice say, ow, as Candace's grip tightened on her shoulder. Candace turned her away from the door, away from me. The kindergarten graduation song started playing. Pomp and circumstance. Children stood up, started walking. Chloe kept glancing back toward the door. I stood in the hallway, invisible, erased. Some of you are probably thinking I should have confronted Candace right there, caused a scene, demanded answers. But when you're 67 years old and someone's already erased you from paperwork, you realize making a scene just proves their point, that you're unstable, difficult, the problem. So I left, drove home, sat in my kitchen. Chloe's rainbow drawings covered my refrigerator, 63 of them, I'd counted. She drew one every Sunday after I braided her hair. Purple suns, green skies, people with 5 arms. This is you, Grandma Vi, she'd say, pointing to a stick figure with a giant smile. You're always happy. They're still on my refrigerator, a museum of a relationship that was being erased. That was July. By September, I knew I needed legal help. After receiving the legal notice in September 2024, I called Phyllis Dumont. She'd handled Floyd's will, estate paperwork. She knew our family. Her office was in Wellesley. Leather chairs, law books lining the walls. She listened to everything. The returned gift, the graduation denial, the legal notice about the name change. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then her voice came firm, professional. "Viola, this is textbook parental alienation, but fighting it is going to be expensive and hard. Are you prepared for that?" "Those are my grandchildren." My voice didn't waver. "Whatever it takes." Phyllis pulled school records through a legal request, public documents, name change petition, court filings. The petition was filed in March 2024, approved in April 2024, 6 months ago, half a year of legal erasure I'd known nothing about. 6 months? I stared at the paperwork. I didn't know anything about it. How is that legal? In Massachusetts, if both parents agree, grandparents have limited standing. Phyllis shuffled through documents. The sound of legal papers rustling filled the silence. But there are exceptions, especially if you can prove alienation and harm to the children. Each page was another piece of evidence that my family was disappearing. Phyllis's voice echoed in my head later. Brookline Elementary received written instructions from Candace. Quote, "Tyler and Chloe's paternal grandmother is no longer part of their lives." No longer a part of their lives. That was 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen Tyler or Chloe since. 14 days, 336 hours, every single one empty. What happens when you become evidence, when your love gets filed away in manila folders and presented to strangers? What Phyllis discovered next changed everything. Subscribe if you want to know what Candace was really hiding. Remember, Phyllis Dumont, my attorney, the one who'd handled Floyd's will when he died 18 months ago, she'd warned me this would be hard. But I didn't know how hard until I drove to Jamal's house. Late September 2024, evening, golden hour light hitting the colonial they'd bought 7 years ago. The house Floyd and I had helped them afford. I rang the doorbell, waited, heard footsteps inside. The door opened 3 inches, chain lock engaged. Candace stood in the gap. Her voice was flat. "Viola, you need to leave." "I need to talk to Jamal." I kept my voice steady. "Where is he?" "Work." The word came out clipped, final. "And before you ask, no, you can't come in. No, you can't see the children." Behind her, I saw moving boxes, brown cardboard, packing tape, stacked against the hallway wall. "Where are you going?" Candace's voice turned ice cold. "Oregon. The lease is signed. We're leaving in 3 weeks." The words landed like stones. Oregon. 3,000 miles from Boston, from me. "You can't do that." My chest tightened. "Those are my grandchildren." "No." Candace's smile was sharp, cruel. "They're my children. And you're no longer part of their lives. The court already ruled. Check the paperwork." The door slammed. The chain rattled. I stood on the porch alone. Why Oregon? 3,000 miles from Boston. Was it a job? Or was she just trying to put as much distance between me and those children as possible? We'd helped with the down payment on that house. $42,000. Floyd had insisted. "Family helps family," he'd said. Candace cried when we handed her the check. "You're the parents I never had," she'd told us. I believed her. I believed all of it. Now she was erasing us, taking my grandchildren across the country, and I had 3 weeks to stop her. The next day, I went to Jamal's office, downtown Boston, 12-story building on Congress Street. His engineering firm occupied the 8th floor. The elevator dinged. Doors opened, professional lobby, gray carpet, glass walls. A receptionist turned toward me. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Jamal Ashford. I'm his mother." Her smile faltered. She picked up the phone, spoke quietly. Then, "I'm sorry. He's in a meeting. I'll wait. I sat in the lobby for 2 hours, watched people come and go. Business suits, briefcases, everyone moving with purpose, everyone except me. Finally, a man walked up, Hispanic, maybe 40, kind eyes. Mrs. Ashford? I stood. Yes. Do you know where my son is? I'm Felipe. I work with Jamal. He glanced around. His voice dropped. He's not in a meeting. He asked me to tell you he can't see you right now. The words hurt more than I expected. Why not? Felipe hesitated. His voice came out careful. Look, I don't know what's going on, but something's wrong. Jamal's not himself. He's hollow, like someone scooped out his insides and left only the shell. He handed me a business card, white paper, embossed text, Felipe Reyes, civil engineer. If you need to reach him, try calling me. I'll make sure he gets the message. I took the card, thanked him, drove home through rush hour traffic. Felipe's words haunted me. Hollow. That's exactly how Jamal had sounded in his last text. Please drop this. Not angry, not defensive, just empty. Is fear contagious? Can you catch it from someone you love? Because whatever Jamal was afraid of, it had infected him so deeply he couldn't even speak to his own mother. Jamal's first apartment after college. I'd helped him move in, just the two of us. His father, my first husband, had left when Jamal was 2. Floyd came into our lives when Jamal was 12. You're my real dad, Jamal had told Floyd on his wedding day to Candace. Floyd cried. So did I. Now that same son was cutting me out. That night, I borrowed Mrs. Chen's phone. Old flip phone. Buttons clicking as I typed. Jamal had blocked my number, but maybe he'd answer hers. I sent a text. Jamal, it's Mom. Please talk to me. I don't understand what's happening. 10 minutes. My heart pounded as I stared at the screen. Then, please drop this. You're making everything worse. Making everything worse. How? By existing? By loving my grandchildren? That text, you're making everything worse. Those words played in my head for days. Worse for who? For him? For Candace? For the kids? Or was he trying to tell me something else? Jamal, my son, 42 years old, civil engineer, the boy I'd raised alone until Floyd came into our lives, was telling me to disappear. The next morning, Phyllis called. Her voice was sharp, urgent. Viola, I got the school records. You need to sit down. I was already sitting, at my kitchen table. The same table where Floyd had died, where I'd opened the legal notice, where everything kept happening. Phyllis's voice came through the phone. Candace sent a formal letter to Brookline Elementary on July 15th, 2024. Quote, Tyler and Chloe's paternal grandmother is no longer part of their lives. Do not allow her on school grounds or contact her for any reason. That was 3 months ago. I tried to keep my voice steady. Right after Chloe's graduation. It gets worse. Papers rustled over the phone. She CC'd the superintendent, the principal, both teachers, the school counselor. This was a coordinated campaign. My hands shook as I gripped the phone. What does that mean? It means she was building a case, documentation, creating a paper trail to support her claims. It wasn't just about keeping me away. Candace was building a paper trail, documentation, evidence. But evidence of what? That's what I couldn't figure out. The first day of kindergarten, Chloe wouldn't let go of my hand. She clung to me, crying. I want Grandma to stay. Candace had been frustrated, embarrassed. I'd knelt down. Braided Chloe's hair right there in the classroom. She calmed. Candace never thanked me. That afternoon, I pulled out Floyd's trust documents again, read them more carefully this time. Educational trust for Tyler James Ashford and Chloe Marie Ashford, established June 2022, 9 months before Floyd died. $140,000 per grandchild, for college, protected, locked until they turned 18. Sole trustee, Viola Ashford. Disbursement requires trustee's signature and in-person identity verification at Bank of America, Boston branch. I read it again, then again. Cannot be changed without trustee consent. Floyd had made sure of that, but why? What was he protecting them from? In the margin, Floyd's handwriting, blue ink. Vi, don't let anyone touch this. Promise me. I need you to pay attention to this part. Because this trust fund, this was the reason for everything that came after. 3 days later, I'd be sitting in a deposition watching everything I suspected become undeniable proof. Floyd set up the trust 9 months before he died. I asked him why so suddenly. Just a precaution, he'd said. I'm 68. Anything could happen. But there was something else. Something in his voice. 3 months later, he told me, Vi, if anything happens to me, don't let anyone touch that trust. Not until the kids are 18. Promise me. I promised. Then I remembered something. January 2024, 8 months ago, before the name change. Before everything fell apart, Candace had visited. Unusual. She rarely came to my house alone. She'd sat in Floyd's chair, the one I couldn't bear to move. Viola, I wanted to ask about the trust Floyd set up. Her voice was casual. Too casual. Is there a way to access it early, in case of emergency? The trust is for their college education. I'd been polite, patient. It can't be touched until they're 18 unless there's documented medical or educational hardship. What if there's a family emergency? Her smile tightened. Like if Jamal and I needed to relocate for work. That wouldn't qualify. I'd explain the legal requirements, trust structure, disbursement rules. Floyd was very specific. He wanted the money protected until they were adults. Candace's forced smile faded. Her voice turned cold. I see. Well, thanks for clarifying. She'd left abruptly. The front door closed harder than necessary. I heard it, but I didn't understand what it meant. Looking back now, I can't believe I didn't see it, but when someone's been family for 14 years, you don't assume they're plotting against you. You assume they're just asking questions. Candace and Jamal's wedding, August 2011, small ceremony at a vineyard in Napa. Floyd and I paid for it, $28,000. Candace's parents didn't contribute. They're not really in the picture, she'd said vaguely. I'd felt sorry for her. We're your family now, Floyd told her. She'd hugged him, cried. I thought they were happy tears. Now I understood. January, Candace asked about trust access. February, something I didn't know about yet. March, name change petition filed. April, petition approved. July, school instructions sent. September, legal notice arrived. October, Oregon threat. A pattern, a timeline, a plan. Candace wasn't just trying to erase me. She'd been systematically building towards something for 8 months, each move calculated, each step documented. But toward what? Early October 2024. Phyllis called me into her office again. Her voice was firm, determined. I'm filing 3 motions today: emergency visitation enforcement, blocking the Oregon move, and requesting the court investigate parental alienation. How long until we get a hearing? Judge Marion Price has a slot on October 24th, 2024. The sound of legal papers being stamped filled the silence. That's 10 days from now. Can you gather evidence? Photos, texts, anything showing your relationship with the kids. I have 8 years of evidence. My voice was steady now, determined. I kept everything. The calendar on Phyllis's wall showed October 24th, circled in red marker. 10 days, 240 hours. That's all I had to stop my grandchildren from disappearing across the country. Remember, Candace Brennan, my daughter-in-law, 39 years old, the woman who'd married my son 14 years ago. She'd threatened to take my grandchildren to Oregon in less than 2 weeks. I spent the next 3 days gathering evidence. Photo albums filled my dining room table. Tyler's birth, first birthday, first day of kindergarten, Halloween costumes, Christmas mornings, soccer games in the park, Chloe at age 4, sitting on my lap, my hands braiding her hair, both of us laughing. Tyler at age 6, Floyd teaching him card tricks, the concentration on his small face, 8 years of proof that I'd been there, that I mattered, that I wasn't just some old woman who'd gone away. Chloe's rainbow drawings, all 63, still on my refrigerator. I photographed each one, dated them. I love Grandma, written in crayon. Purple letters, March 2024. 1 month before the name change petition was filed, birthday cards they'd made, glitter and construction paper, best grandma ever, handprints in paint, report cards listing me as emergency contact, school forms with my name, my phone number, my address, and the baby blanket, Tyler James Ashford, navy blue letters, soft cotton yarn. Those photos weren't just evidence for a judge. They were proof to myself, proof that I hadn't imagined those 8 years, that the love had been real. Tyler's 7th birthday, the card trick performance. I have 43 photos from that day. Floyd teaching him the final trick, Jamal laughing in the background, Chloe wearing her rainbow dress, and Candace. I zoomed in on her face in one photo. She's not smiling. She's watching Floyd with something I couldn't name then. Resentment? Jealousy? I don't know. But it was there. I organized everything into folders, chronological order, birth to present, every major milestone documented, every visit, every phone call, every text message I'd saved. Phyllis's voice echoed in my head. Be thorough, Viola. The more evidence you have, the harder it is for Candace to claim you weren't involved. I made copies of everything. 1 set for Phyllis, 1 set for the court, 1 set for myself, just in case. The baby blanket sat on my dining room table, centerpiece of 8 years of memories. Tyler James Ashford, the name that mattered. The name that tied him to his grandfather, to his great-grandfather, to a history Candace was trying to erase. I thought about Floyd's funeral, March 2023. Tyler had been 7. Chloe was 5. They'd sat in the front row with Jamal and Candace. Tyler kept asking questions. Where did Grandpa go? When is he coming back? I'd knelt down after the service, held his small hands. Grandpa's not coming back, baby, but he's still with us, in here. I'd touched his chest, over his heart. And he wanted you to remember something. Your name, Tyler James. That James comes from your great-grandfather. Grandpa Floyd wanted you to carry that name, to remember where you come from. Tyler had nodded, not really understanding, but trusting me. Candace had watched from across the room. I'd thought she was just grieving, processing loss. I didn't see the calculation in her eyes, the planning already starting. Within 2 months, she'd ask about the trust fund. Within 3 months, she'd file the name change petition. Within 6 months, Tyler James Ashford would become Tyler Brennan. Erased. October 23, 2024. Evening. The night before the hearing. I sat alone in my kitchen. The clock ticked. 11:47 p.m. The baby blanket sat on the table. Soft cotton yarn, navy blue embroidered letters. Tomorrow. Judge Marion Price. Phyllis said she was fair. Tough, but fair. But what if fair wasn't enough? What if Candace had convinced everyone, the school, the court, even Jamal, that I was the problem? Names mean something. Their history. Legacy. When Floyd died, I'd held on to his name like a lifeline. Viola Ashford. It tied me to 53 years of marriage. To the man who'd taught Tyler card tricks and called Chloe Little Rainbow. Candace wanted to erase that, not just from paperwork, from memory. I didn't know it then, but Phyllis had one more piece of evidence, something she'd discovered that afternoon, something that would change everything. The fraud alert from Bank of America, dated February 14th, 2024, Valentine's Day. While I was sitting in my empty house grieving Floyd, Candace was trying to forge my signature, trying to steal $85,000 from her own children's future. That document would be the key, the smoking gun, The proof that this wasn't about protecting children from an unstable grandmother. This was about money, about desperation, about covering up lies that had been building for 2 years. But I didn't know any of that yet. Not until the deposition. Not until Phyllis slid that paper across the conference table and Candace's entire story fell apart. Tomorrow, everything would change. The truth would come out. The walls Candace had built would start to crumble. Tomorrow, I'd start fighting back. October 21st, 2024. 3 days before the hearing, Phyllis's conference room in Wellesley, leather chairs, mahogany table, court reporter in the corner, keyboard clacking. Candace sat across from me, under oath, her attorney beside her, a man in a gray suit, expensive tie. Phyllis stood, papers in hand. Mrs. Brennan, for the record, can you describe your relationship with Mrs. Ashford over the past year? Candace's voice was smooth, practiced. Mrs. Ashford has become increasingly emotionally volatile over the past year, calling at odd hours, making demands about the children's schedules. I had to protect my family from her instability. The words landed like punches. Emotionally volatile, unstable, demands, each one a lie wrapped in official language. My hands gripped the edge of the table. I forced myself to stay silent. Phyllis had told me, "Let her talk. Let her dig her own grave." I see. Phyllis slid a document across the table. The sound of paper against wood, loud in the quiet room. "Mrs. Brennan, can you explain something for the record?" Candace glanced down. Her confidence flickered. "Just for a second. Have you ever watched someone's lies unravel in real time? When the truth they've been hiding finally catches up? This is a fraud alert report from Bank of America." Phyllis's voice was calm, professional, deadly. "Dated February 14th, 2024, you attempted to submit a trust fund disbursement request for $85,000 bearing Mrs. Ashford's forged signature. Can you explain that?" The room went still. Even the court reporter stopped typing. Candace's voice faltered. That was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Phyllis's voice sharpened. "You forged your mother-in-law's signature on a legal document to access her grandchildren's trust fund." "I needed the money." Candace's words came out desperate now. There were expenses, medical bills. I was going to pay it back. There were no medical bills. Phyllis placed another document on the table. "And the bank's fraud investigation is still open. Want to explain why?" Silence. Candace said nothing. Her attorney whispered something to her. She shook her head. I stared at that document. February 14th, 8 months ago, Valentine's Day, while I was grieving Floyd, while I was trying to understand why nobody returned my calls. Candace had tried to steal from my grandchildren. And when she couldn't, when the bank caught her, she tried to erase me instead. Have you ever caught someone in a lie so big you questioned everything they'd ever told you? That's what this felt like. 14 years of family dinners, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. All of it built on what? Trust I'd given freely. Trust she'd been planning to betray. Candace Brennan, the woman who'd hugged Floyd at her wedding, who'd cried when we paid for her vineyard ceremony, who'd called us the parents I never had. She'd forged my signature to steal from my grandchildren. Phyllis wasn't done. "Mrs. Brennan, let's talk about your employment history. You told everyone you quit your job 6 years ago to be a stay-at-home mother. That's not true, is it?" Candace's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I was laid off." October 2022. 2 years ago. Phyllis let the words hang. "And you hid that from your husband for 2 years. During that time, you invested $47,000 of your family's savings in something called Vital Balance Wellness, an MLM pyramid scheme. You lost it all." The court reporter's keyboard started clacking again, recording every word, every admission. "I thought it would work." Candace's voice cracked. "I thought I could make the money back before Jamal found out." So, when the forgery failed in February, Phyllis continued, her voice steady, relentless, you decided to legally erase Mrs. Ashford, change the children's names, move across the country, and try again to access the trust without her. I wasn't trying to steal. Candace's hands shook on the table. I was trying to fix my mistake. Some of you might feel sorry for her. She made a mistake, lost money, panicked. But here's what you need to understand. She didn't just lie. She taught my grandchildren to forget me. She was erasing their history to cover her crimes. Forgery, MLM losses, hidden unemployment, 2 years of lies compounding into desperation. And my grandchildren, Tyler and Chloe, they were just collateral damage in Candace's war against truth. I remembered now. Last Thanksgiving, 2023. Candace had been on her phone constantly. Work stuff, she'd said. Jamal had rolled his eyes. You're always working. She'd snapped at him. Someone has to pay the bills. I'd thought it was normal marital stress. It wasn't. She hadn't been working for a year. The deposition ended. Candace left with her attorney. Phyllis turned to me. That document changes everything. The fraud alert. Her attorney knows it. What happens now? The hearing is in 3 days. Phyllis gathered her papers. Judge Price will see all of this. The forgery, the lies, the alienation. Candace's case just fell apart. I drove home through afternoon traffic. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mrs. Ashford? Felipe's voice, urgent. It's Felipe. Jamal asked me to call you. He can't risk Candace finding out. My chest tightened. What's wrong? Is he okay? He wants you to know the truth. Felipe's words came fast. Candace threatened divorce and full custody if he didn't sign the name change paperwork. She told him you were trying to interfere, that you'd become obsessive. He believed her? He signed the petition while he was at a work conference in Chicago. Felipe's voice softened. He didn't read it carefully. He trusted her. Mrs. Ashford, he wants you to know. He never wanted to cut you out. He's been trying to protect the kids from their mother's instability. Will he testify? My voice shook. Tomorrow? Will he tell the judge the truth? He's scared. But yes. Felipe paused. He's going to tell the truth. After we hung up, I sat in my car, in my driveway. The same driveway Floyd had shoveled every winter. The same house we'd lived in for 30 years. Have you ever had to choose between protecting someone you love and telling the truth? That's the choice Jamal faced. And tomorrow he'd have to make it in front of a judge. October 24th, 2024. Morning. Suffolk County Family Court, Department 12. Wood-paneled walls, American flag in the corner, Massachusetts state seal above the judge's bench. I sat with Phyllis. Candace sat across the aisle with her attorney. Jamal sat in the gallery, pale, silent, not looking at either of us. Judge Marion Price entered. Black woman, 50s, sharp eyes behind reading glasses. All rise. We stood, sat. The courtroom felt too small, too quiet. Every sound echoed. The air in that courtroom felt heavy, like pressure before a storm, everyone waiting for something to break. Judge Price reviewed the documents in front of her, pages rustling, minutes passing like hours. Then she turned her gaze up. I've reviewed the depositions and evidence submitted. Mrs. Brennan, these allegations are serious. Attempted fraud, parental alienation, falsified relocation claims. Phyllis stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Ashford has been systematically erased from her grandchildren's lives to cover financial crimes. The evidence is overwhelming. Candace's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client made a mistake with the trust fund request, but she had no malicious intent. She was trying to provide for her children. Judge Price's voice cut through the courtroom, sharp, final. Forging a signature on a legal document isn't a mistake, counselor. It's a crime. And then Judge Price turned to Jamal. The room went silent. This was the moment that would decide everything. What Jamal said next broke Candace's lies wide open. Subscribe to hear how the judge ruled. Mr. Ashford. Judge Price's voice was measured, firm. You signed papers cutting your own mother out of your children's lives. Did you actually read what you were signing? Jamal's voice cracked when he spoke. No, Your Honor. The words came out broken, raw. My wife told me it was for asset protection, to protect the kids' future. I trusted her. And the school instructions? Judge Price leaned forward. The blocked phone numbers? Did you authorize all of that? No. Jamal's voice got quieter. I found out about the school instructions last week. I had no idea she'd done that. Mr. Ashford. Judge Price's voice softened. Just slightly. Your wife has been controlling everything. Every conversation with your mother. Every decision about the kids. Help me understand why you let this happen. Jamal broke down. His voice shattered. I thought I was protecting my marriage, keeping my family together. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Tears ran down his face. He didn't wipe them away. My wife has been controlling everything, every conversation with my mother, every decision about the kids. I thought if I just went along, if I kept the peace, everything would be okay. Mr. Ashford. Judge Price's voice was gentle now. You understand that your mother has been fighting to see her grandchildren while you remained silent? Yes, Your Honor. Jamal's words came out choked. I should have protected my mother. I should have protected my children. I'm asking for a chance to make this right. Watching my son admit he'd been manipulated, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like watching someone I loved wake up from a nightmare and realize how much time they'd lost. Judge Price sat back, reviewed her notes. The courtroom was silent, waiting. I've heard enough. Judge Price's voice was firm, final. Mrs. Brennan, your actions constitute textbook parental alienation compounded by attempted fraud. She turned to Candace directly. You forged a signature to steal from your own children's future. When that failed, you tried to erase their grandmother, the sole trustee, from their lives. Candace's attorney tried to interrupt. Your Honor, my client is willing to enter counseling. Judge Price held up her hand. The relocation to Oregon is denied. There is no legal basis for it. The restraining order petition is denied. Mrs. Ashford poses no danger to these children. Relief flooded through me. My breath came out in a rush. I hadn't realized I'd been holding it. Mrs. Ashford's grandparent visitation rights are hereby reinstated immediately. Judge Price's voice was clear. Precise. Supervised visitation will begin within 1 week, escalating to unsupervised after family therapy assessment with Dr. Helena Cross. She turned back to Candace. You will also be removed from any input regarding the grandchildren's trust funds pending resolution of the Bank of America fraud investigation. This court takes attempted theft from minors very seriously. The gavel came down. Single decisive strike. Wood on wood. I want you to understand something. Winning in court doesn't erase 8 months of pain. It doesn't give back the birthdays I missed or the bedtime stories I didn't get to read. But it was something. A beginning. Outside the courthouse, October afternoon cold. My breath visible in the air. Jamal approached me, slowly, like he wasn't sure if I'd walk away. Mom, can we talk? I've been trying to talk to you for 8 months, Jamal. My voice came out harder than I meant. I know. He stopped a few feet away, and I have no excuse. Candace convinced me you were trying to control our lives, that you didn't respect her as Tyler and Chloe's mother. And you believed her? The question came out sharp. After 30 years of me showing up for you? I didn't want to believe it. His voice broke. But she'd show me texts where you'd criticized her parenting. Except I found out last week she doctored screenshots, edited conversations to make you seem controlling. My chest tightened. She what? She doctored the screenshots. Jamal's hands shook. Made it look like you were demanding, interfering. I believed her. I chose the easier path, protecting my marriage instead of protecting you, protecting truth. Could I forgive him? My son who'd signed papers erasing me? I didn't know. But I knew this. He was asking. That was more than Candace ever did. Why do we forgive? Is it for the person who hurt us or for ourselves? Because holding on to that anger, it was like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. Jamal was 2 when his father left, just disappeared one Tuesday morning. For years after, Jamal would wake up asking, "Is Daddy coming back?" I'd hold him and say, "I'm here, I'll always be here." I kept that promise for 40 years, until Candace made him believe I'd broken it. "What are you going to do now?" I asked. "I don't know." He stared down. "But I know I can't stay in that house. With her. Not after everything." 5 weeks later, late November 2024, Jamal called me. "Mom, I filed the paperwork today. Legal separation. I have primary custody. Are you okay?" "No." His voice was tired, but something else too. Resolved. "But I will be. And so will Tyler and Chloe, because they're going to know the truth now." The phone call ended. I sat at my kitchen table. The same table where Floyd had died, where I'd opened the legal notice, where everything had changed. That phone call was the beginning, not of everything going back to normal. It never would, but of something new, something honest. Jamal filed for legal separation, not divorce yet. He wasn't ready for that, but separation. The paperwork went through by November 28th, 2024. 5 weeks after the court hearing, he moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Cambridge, near Central Square. The kids would split time between households, week on, week off. Court-ordered arrangement. Candace entered mandatory financial counseling. 18 months. Court-mandated. She had no choice. The Oregon move was fiction. Phyllis had confirmed it. No lease existed, no job offer, just theater. Brown cardboard boxes filled with old clothes, designed to force my surrender, to make me believe they were really leaving. It almost worked. The trust funds remained untouched. Floyd's protections held. The family continuity clause he'd written, if parental alienation is proven via court documentation, parents lose control over disbursement. Judge Price's ruling triggered it. Candace had no access now, no input. The fraud investigation was ongoing. Bank of America was still deciding whether to press charges. I asked Phyllis about that. Will they prosecute? First offense. She shuffled papers on her desk. No actual monetary loss since the bank caught it. They'll probably decline, but she's flagged permanently. She'll never be able to access those accounts. That was something. Not justice, maybe, but protection. The children's names remained legally changed. Tyler Brennan, Chloe Brennan. Reversing it would require another petition, more court hearings, more trauma. Do we fight to change them back? I'd asked Phyllis. That's up to you. Her voice was gentle. But consider this. They've been Tyler and Chloe Brennan for 6 months. Their school records, medical records. Friends know them by those names. Changing them back might cause more confusion. She was right. The names were gone, but the history wasn't. That's what mattered. I could teach them about their grandfather, about Floyd Ashford, about where they came from. Names on paper don't erase blood, don't erase memory. I went home that night, sat in Floyd's chair, the one I'd finally been able to sit in, after 18 months of leaving it empty. His reading glasses were still on the side table. I picked them up, held them, the frames worn where his fingers had gripped them. 30 years of reading the Globe, sports section, crossword puzzles he never finished. You knew, I said out loud, to the empty room, to Floyd. You knew she'd try something. That's why you set up the protections. No answer, just the house settling, the heater clicking on. But I understood now, why he'd been so insistent, why he'd made me promise. 3 months before he died, he'd seen something. Maybe Candace had asked him about the trust. Maybe he'd caught something in her voice, her expression. Floyd had been a careful man, methodical. He'd worked in accounting for 40 years. He knew how to protect assets, how to build walls around what mattered. He'd built walls around Tyler and Chloe, around me, around their future. And those walls held. 3 weeks after the court ruling, I got a call from Dr. Helena Cross, the family therapist Judge Price had assigned. "Mrs. Ashford, I'd like to schedule your first supervised visit. How does November 1st work for you?" 10 a.m.? "Yes." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "That works." "The children are aware you'll be there." Dr. Cross's voice was professional, kind. "We've been preparing them. They have questions." "What kind of questions?" "Why they haven't seen you, why their names changed, why their mother told them certain things." A pause. "Mrs. Ashford, this won't be easy. They've been taught a narrative for 8 months. Undoing that takes time." "I understand." I did, but understanding didn't make it easier. November 1st, 2024, 1 week after the court ruling. Dr. Helena Cross's office in Newton, soft lighting. Children's toys scattered in the corner, books lining shelves. This was it. The first supervised visit. After 8 months of silence. After courtrooms and depositions and legal papers. After everything. Tyler and Chloe sat on the couch. Dr. Cross sat beside them. I sat in a chair across from them. 3 feet of distance that felt like miles. Tyler, Chloe. Dr. Cross's voice was gentle. Professional. "Do you remember your grandmother?" Tyler's voice shifted toward me, then to Dr. Cross. His voice came out hesitant, uncertain. "Kind of. She has the blanket, with my old name." My chest tightened. He remembered. Not me. Not the pancakes, or the card tricks, or the bedtime stories. Just the blanket. Chloe spoke up. Small voice. Confused. "Mommy said Grandma went away, but you're here." I knelt in front of them. My knees cracked. The sound loud in the quiet room. "Baby, I never went away. I've been right here the whole time, and I'm not going anywhere." Chloe's hair was longer now, tangled, unbrushed. Candace hadn't been braiding it. I could see that without touching it. The ends were knotted, dry. "Can you braid my hair again?" Chloe's voice got smaller. "Like you used to?" My voice broke. "Yes, sweetheart, every Sunday, just like before." That first visit lasted 45 minutes. It felt like 45 seconds. But it was enough. Enough to know we'd find our way back. 3 weeks later, late November 2024, Saturday morning, my house in Newton. First unsupervised visit approved by Dr. Cross. Tyler and Chloe sat on my living room floor. Photo albums spread out around them. 8 years of memories. Tangible proof that I'd existed in their lives. Tyler touched a photo, his small finger tracing the outline. "This is me? When I was little?" "Your first birthday." I sat down beside them. "You grabbed the cake with both hands, shoved it in your mouth. Your grandfather Floyd laughed so hard he cried." Chloe pointed to another photo. "This is me. You're braiding my hair, I remember." Her voice got excited, hopeful. "I remember you doing my hair." Then her voice changed, got small again. "Why did Mommy say you went away?" How do you explain betrayal to a 6-year-old? How do you tell an 8-year-old that someone they love tried to erase you? I chose my words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. Big mistakes. "Your mommy was scared and made bad choices." Tyler spoke up from the album. "Grandma Vi, why did Mommy change our names?" My voice broke again. "Baby, your name is part of your story. Tyler James. That James comes from your great-grandfather. Your grandfather Floyd wanted you to carry that name, to remember where you come from. When someone tries to erase that, they're trying to erase your history. But I'll tell you every story, every memory, for as long as you want to hear them." The photo album pages crinkled as they turned them, plastic sleeves catching on small fingers. Chloe's rainbow drawings were still on my refrigerator, faded now, but preserved. December 2024. Phyllis called with the final update. The bank decided not to press charges. First offense, no actual monetary loss. But she's permanently flagged. And the trust funds? I asked. She has zero access, zero input. You remain sole trustee until Tyler and Chloe turn 18. Floyd's protections held. I hung up, sat at my kitchen table. The same table where Floyd had died, where I'd opened the legal notice, where everything had happened. Candace never apologized, not once. She still believed she'd done nothing wrong. Some people never face their truth. They construct entire realities to justify their actions. Some of you wanted me to press charges, to make her pay. But here's what I learned. You can't force someone to see their wrongs. You can only protect yourself and move forward. December 15, 2024. Sunday morning, Tyler and Chloe visit every weekend now. Jamal's custody arrangement. Week on, week off, but they're here. That's what matters. Chloe's hair is freshly braided, French braids with ribbons, green this time, her favorite color this week. Tyler sits at the kitchen table. Grandma, watch this one. He shuffles cards, quick hands, confident movements. Grandpa Floyd taught me, remember? But I added my own twist. He performs the trick. I guess wrong on purpose. He grins, proud of himself. Your grandfather would be so proud. You've gotten better than him. Chloe runs up with a new drawing. This one's for you. It's us. All of us. See? That's you, that's me, that's Tyler, that's Daddy. 4 stick figures, giant smiles, purple sun, green sky, rainbow colors everywhere. Sound of children's laughter fills the house that had been too quiet for 18 months. Since Floyd died, the silence is gone now, replaced with noise, with life, with family. Floyd had been right. The protections he set up weren't just about money. They were about identity, about remembering who we are, even when someone tries to make us forget. That baby blanket sits on the shelf now, Tyler James Ashford embroidered in navy blue. A reminder, not of what was lost, but of what survived. Names matter, history matters, and love, real love, survives erasure. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next one. Drop your country flag and location in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from. And if you're still not subscribed, seriously, what's stopping you? Your feedback means a lot and helps me improve every story. Would you have pressed charges for the forgery attempt? Or did I show too much mercy? Tell me in the comments.